What's the wildest thing you've ever heard about a rock star? Whatever came to mind, Ozzy Osbourne probably did it twice, and then made headlines about it. They called him the Prince of Darkness, a man who could fill stadiums, shock audiences, and leave even his closest friends wondering what he'd do next. And now, after his passing on July 22, 2025, we're looking back at the stunts, scandals, and moments of pure chaos that turned Ozzy into one of the most unpredictable figures in music history. This is the countdown of Ozzy's 10 craziest, most unforgettable moments of his career, and trust me, you won't believe number 1. Number 10, the bat-biting incident. At number 10, we have the image that just refuses to fade. Ozzy Osbourne, mid-concert, holding a bat in his hand and then biting off its head. January 20, 1982, Des Moines, Iowa. The bat had been thrown on stage by a fan, and Ozzy, assuming it was a fake rubber prop, decided to play along. The moment the teeth sank in, he realized it was real and likely still alive moments before. The fallout was immediate. He was rushed off for a full course of rabies shots, 14 injections in the stomach over a month. A gruesome medical ordeal almost as famous as the incident itself. The media exploded with coverage, labeling him the madman of rock and public enemy number 1 to animal lovers. Some concertgoers swore it was the most shocking thing they'd ever seen on stage. Others left the venue in disgust, but love him or hate him, everyone was talking about it, and ticket sales only went up. And if you think that was wild, the next one wasn't about shock value at all. It was about revenge, and it played out live in front of thousands. Number 9, Ozzfest 2005, Egg Attack on Iron Maiden. By 2005, Ozzfest was the crown jewel of summer metal festivals, with Ozzy and Sharon Osbourne as its power couple hosts. That year, Iron Maiden's Bruce Dickinson had been publicly mocking the Osbournes' TV show, taking shots at MTV and hinting that Ozzy was nothing more than a reality TV puppet. Sharon wasn't about to let that slide. During Iron Maiden's final Ozzfest set in California, chaos broke loose. Crew members cut the PA system mid-song, the audience pelted the band with eggs, and the crowd was urged to chant "Ozzy, Ozzy" between numbers. Fans in the pit were split. Some laughing and joining in, others booing and calling it disrespectful. The press devoured it, with metal magazines debating who was in the wrong. Iron Maiden finished the tour, but the grudge between Dickinson and Sharon simmered for years, with occasional jabs and interviews keeping the feud alive. That feud would linger for years, but Ozzy didn't need enemies to create trouble. Sometimes all it took was a bottle of booze, bad timing, and a historic landmark that didn't survive the night. Number 8, urinating on the Alamo. San Antonio, 1982. Ozzy was in town for a show, heavily intoxicated, and wearing one of Sharon's dresses. Not as a stunt, but because she had hidden his clothes to keep him from going out drinking. It didn't work. Staggering through the historic district, Ozzy stopped near the Alamo cenotaph, a revered monument, and decided to relieve himself right there. The reaction was swift and brutal. He was arrested on the spot and charged with public intoxication and desecration. City officials were outraged, veterans groups called for boycotts, and he was slapped with a lifetime ban from performing in San Antonio. While some defended it as classic Ozzy, others saw it as a shameful insult to history. The ban lasted a decade before Ozzy returned in 1992 to issue a public apology and donate $10,000 to Alamo conservation efforts. Getting banned from a city was one thing, but what came next blurred the line between rock and roll myth and genuine madness, a story so strange people still argue about whether it even happened. Number 7, snorting ants on tour with Mötley Crüe. The story is so insane that even in rock's Anything Goes 80s, people still argue if it really happened. According to Mötley Crüe bassist Nikki Sixx, sometime in 1984 during their Shout at the Devil tour with Ozzy, the band stopped at a hotel pool for a booze break. Sixx dared Ozzy to snort a line of cocaine off the ground, but instead of coke, Ozzy got down on all fours, found a trail of live ants, and inhaled them. Whether every detail is true or not, the shock factor was instant. Roadies and hangers-on swore it was the most disturbing thing they'd ever seen a rock star do. Fans who heard the rumor passed it around like gospel, cementing Ozzy as the guy who didn't just party hard, he partied in ways no one else would dare. Nikki Sixx himself admitted in his memoir, "That day I saw someone who was even more out of control than I was." And yet, for all his offstage lunacy, nothing prepared the public for what happened when the chaos spilled into his own home and nearly turned deadly. Number 6. Strangling Sharon. August 1989. Ozzy was deep in the throes of substance abuse, so impaired he claims to have no memory of what happened next. One night at home, he calmly sat down with Sharon, told her, "We've come to a decision, you've got to go," and then launched into a drunken attempt to strangle her. Their children were asleep upstairs. Sharon managed to hit a panic button that summoned the police. He was arrested for attempted murder and spent weeks in rehab, where the reality of what he'd done finally sank in. Sharon later admitted he was totally insane from drugs and alcohol. The tabloids exploded not with rock and roll bad boy image, but with a much darker portrait of a man spiraling out of control. For many fans, it was the lowest moment of his career, a reminder that the chaos could have real and terrifying consequences. But somehow Ozzy clawed his way back, not just to keep performing, but to stand once again beside the very band that made him a legend. It was the kind of reunion fans thought they'd never see. Number 5. Reuniting with Black Sabbath. Few bands have broken up and reunited as many times as Black Sabbath, and each time it felt like a miracle. After years of bitter words, legal battles, and lineup changes, the original four reunited for Live Aid in 1985, then again in 1997 for a full tour. Fans wept openly at shows, seeing Ozzy side by side with Tony Iommi, Geezer Butler, and Bill Ward again. These reunions weren't just nostalgia trips. The 2013 album 13 debuted at number 1 in the UK and US, proving Sabbath could still dominate the charts 4 decades after their debut. The final farewell tour, The End, wrapped in Birmingham in 2017, the city where it all began. Critics called it the closing of a metal chapter, and fans flew in from around the world for a last chance to see the magic. And yet, just when it seemed like Ozzy had embraced his role as rock's elder statesman, he stepped onto live television and reminded everyone that you can't script the Prince of Darkness. Number 4. The Brit Awards Chaos. 2008. The Brit Awards, the UK's prime-time black tie music gala. It was meant to be a night of slick performances and polished speeches. Instead, it became a live broadcast the producers will never forget. Ozzy and Sharon, as hosts, tore up the script within minutes. They cut off presenters mid-sentence, fired off bleep-worthy swears at the crowd, and lobbed unscripted jabs that had the control room frantically riding the mute button. The strangest moment came when Sharon accused presenter Vic Reeves of being too drunk to talk, calling him a pisshead on live TV, only for it to turn out he was stone-cold sober and just waiting for the teleprompter. Viewers at home were split between roaring with laughter and cringing into their couches. The tabloids couldn't decide if Ozzy had stolen the show or single-handedly tanked it. Either way, it was proof that even in his 60s, the Prince of Darkness could still turn a glittering award ceremony into unpredictable, unfiltered mayhem. And it wasn't the first time he'd shocked people in a formal setting. Decades earlier, he'd pulled one of his most infamous stunts in a corporate boardroom. Number 3. Dove head biting at CBS Records. 1981. Ozzy had just signed his solo deal with CBS Records. He was supposed to attend a label meeting in Los Angeles to charm the executives and prove he could be a marketable star without Black Sabbath. His plan? Bring along 2 white doves as a peace offering, a symbol of goodwill. The meeting started politely enough. Then, mid-discussion, Ozzy suddenly grabbed one of the doves and bit its head clean off, splitting it onto the boardroom table. A second dove met the same fate before stunned CBS staff could react. The room went silent. Some execs reportedly screamed. Others simply sat frozen in disbelief. The label's PR team was horrified, but they also couldn't ignore the publicity value. Within days, the story was everywhere, cementing Ozzy's image as unpredictable, dangerous, and impossible to control. Years later, he'd surprise everyone by stepping into a completely different spotlight, one inside his own living room. Number 2. Reality TV Madness. The Osbournes. 2002. MTV rolled the dice on a bizarre concept, a fly-on-the-wall reality show following Ozzy, Sharon, and their children in their Beverly Hills mansion. What they got was lightning in a bottle. Ozzy mumbling incoherently around the house, Sharon throwing ham over the fence at noisy neighbors, Kelly and Jack trading insults like they were scripted sitcom characters. The show was chaotic, profane, and utterly addictive. It became MTV's most-watched series at the time, winning a Primetime Emmy and redefining celebrity reality TV. But it also exposed the family's personal struggles to millions. From Sharon's cancer battle to Ozzy's relapses, some critics called it exploitative. Others hailed it as the most honest depiction of fame ever put on television. And yet, for all the TV cameras and tabloid drama, the wildest moment of Ozzy's career was still the one that proved he could rise from the ashes and dominate on his own terms. Number 1. The Blizzard of Oz Breakthrough. 1979. Fired from Black Sabbath, broke and drowning in addiction, Ozzy Osbourne looked finished. The industry had already started writing his obituary. But with Sharon in his corner and a young guitar virtuoso named Randy Rhoads at his side, he mounted a comeback no one saw coming. In 1980, Blizzard of Oz dropped Crazy Train and Mr. Crowley blasting from radios, turning skeptics into believers. Just a year later, Diary of a Madman sealed the deal. Ozzy went from the brink of obscurity to headlining arenas around the world, rewriting his own fate in real time. Even decades later, Blizzard of Oz remains a sacred text for metal fans, and Crazy Train is still one of the most recognizable riffs in rock history. This wasn't just a comeback, it was a full-blown reinvention, proof that no matter how chaotic or controversial his life became, Ozzy Osbourne could always find a way back to the top. And for a man who built a career on pushing boundaries, it was the perfect final act in a lifetime of unpredictable, unforgettable moments. From biting heads off animals to redefining reality TV, Ozzy lived his life louder than almost anyone in rock history. Which moment blew your mind the most? Drop your pick in the comments, and if you thought this was wild, click here for 10 craziest celebrity feuds with Ozzy Osbourne. You won't believe who makes the list.